Okay, fantastic. Good morning. Namaste, everybody. Welcome to this session on management through movies. My name is Jain. I work with Squared Circle Consulting, and we at Squared Circle Consulting do a lot of sessions on movies through management through movies, rather. And please understand, we do not do any review of the movie. We do not say that whether you should watch it or not. It's absolutely your call. What we are sharing with you is our perspective of or our point of view at looking at the lessons which we can learn. That doesn't mean they are limited to those lessons only. So we encourage you to look at the movie from your own perspective. And this recording will be made available on our YouTube channel by the name Jimmy Jain. We encourage you to write your comments and share your point of view after you watch this movie. Okay, so that's our submission, and we do also appreciate that being a Saturday morning, you people have taken time out to be here. So let's begin, and let me begin by sharing, or so to say, let's begin the session by watching a small trailer of what this movie is all about. A quick check. I've started to share the screen. We are able to see this shared screen. I'm going to play the video.
Attention, soldiers! I am Captain Charity Adams. Welcome to the Women's Army Corps.
Delma, my wife and I have been talking about the problems we are having with the mail and our
It is
soldiers.
not visible on the full screen.
Mr. President,
Is
this
it possible?
assignment is proven to be a logistical nightmare. Keeping inside the Women's Army Corps.
You mean
The White Women's Army Corps. Or is there another? Speak up.
you and the 6th AAA Battalion are headed to Europe?
Did you open it? Postal Battalion? They think the only thing we good for is deliver some damn mail.
Would you like to see all the hangars, ma'am?
How many are there?
All of them.
Oh my God.
We have been ordered to provide hope. The soldiers have not heard from their loved ones, and their loved ones have not heard from them. When there is no mail, there is no morale. 6th AAA Battalion! Forward march! They did not send us because they thought we could do it. We are here because they are sure we cannot. We are no strangers to making a shackle home. We are at war, and when you are at war, you make do. Folks here, we have the most to prove. When you show the proof, this is our mission. And we will not fail.
All right. Well, it's pretty interesting. Let me start sharing my deck so that we are able to take it forward from what you just saw. This is an amazing movie. And a quick check. I've started sharing my screen. If you can see the deck, perfect. So let's quickly move forward. You saw what was going on. You saw that there's a Women Army Corps. They are given a very impossible task to be done in 6 months. Now, what is this all about? As I said earlier, we just look at the learnings from the movie. And of course, at the end, we'll have about Q&A. And we also encourage you to watch the movie and share your point of view. Now, 6888 is an American war drama movie, which is based on a real story. Okay. Now, the slide may look a little verbose, but this gives you a little perspective of what the story is. So the movie begins, and we see that there's a mother who is waiting to hear from her 2 sons who are serving overseas. And then there is a story wherein Lena and Abraham. Now, Lena is a black woman and Abraham is white Jewish, and both of them are childhood friends. Abraham is, joins the army and is killed in action, and Lena also joins the army after she graduates. And this mother, who is waiting at the White House, so that Mrs. Roosevelt, the current, the then president was President Roosevelt, she could share her story with the president. And then Mrs. Roosevelt heard her and said, "This is not done." So there was a meeting which was conducted by the president with the higher ups of the army. And that's where it was shared that when there is no mail which is getting delivered, right, the morale of the troops is low. Now, the general explains that the delivery of supplies has been prioritized over the email. And as a consequence, millions of letters and packages have piled up in the hangars in Britain. Now, clearing that is itself is a logistical nightmare. A lot of people did try it, however, they could not do it. And Captain Charity Adams' unit is waiting to be deployed. Now, there was a lot of racial discrimination, and the white women or the white troops were given the priority over them, over the all black women army corps. Now, the newly appointed Major Adams and the Captain Campbell are given an impossible task to go to Europe and in 6 months turn a school into a post office and clear a 2-year backlog of undelivered mail. And as you saw in the trailer, Captain Charity Adams realized that they are set up for failure. They are not set up for success, but she did not give up. And then she led the troops to ensure that the job is done. Now, in the process, President Roosevelt also dies. And the General Holt, who is the commanding officer in Europe at that point of time, he is against this entire battalion. He sends a padre to spy on this division. And he also visits and criticizes the 688 battalion very, very harshly. Now, as a result of that, Major Adams stood up and said, "We work with a lot of hard work and character. We will not take any comments which says we are incompetent." Because Journal said that I'm going to replace you with a white male. And she responded, "Over my dead body, sir." And as a result of that, the Journal plans to do a court martial for her. But while he was doing so, he could hear a lot of cheers from his unit outside. And that's where the mail was finally getting delivered. So the 688 successfully straightened the backlog of 2 years of 17 million pieces of mail in just 90 days. And their service is not even recognized. Very recently, when President Barack Obama was there, that's where their services were recognized as a battalion. So what are the leadership lessons from the movie? Well, yes, when you look at managing 17 million mails, 17 million is roughly about 1.7 crore. Imagine 1.7 crore letters undelivered for the last 2 years, and they are making it happen. I mean, when I was watching the movie and I was wondering, these days in the era of WhatsApp and quick messaging, we are always online 24/7. Imagine that time when you don't hear from anyone for 2 years. What could be the plight of the loved ones, of the mother, of the wives, of the children? Now, coming back. Now, there's a very interesting comment which Captain Charity Adams mentions. He says that we are Negro women and we have a burden to be better because we do not fight the war. We fight the war every day, not only with the enemy, anybody and everybody, because being a black woman, you are observed and you have a bigger burden to be better. That this set me thinking that so many times uh, we in our own lives also get into so much of a burden to get better, to be in the eyes of, to be better in the eyes of others around us. So this is one question which I would want you to think and ponder. Uh, are we under any burden to be better? Is it, if the burden is there, is it the burden because of the ecosystem, the environment, the society we are in, or this is a self-induced burden, right? And there is no right or wrong answer to it, but it's a very interesting comment to ponder upon, burden to be better. Then, in the continuation of that, she said, being a Negro, you have the most to prove. There are a lot of luxuries which were given to white women compared to black women. And she said, you yourself being a Negro, you will have the most to prove to everybody around you, because people would expect you to be, people treat you being inferior, but you are no less than anyone. So you have the most to prove. And if when you look at the movie, she gives a lot of rigorous training to the troops to ensure that they become the best. And she is somebody who actually took there are a lot of instances in the movie wherein she takes all the white officers head on, which means she stand up. She stood up for what uh, she should be, which means if she was being discriminated on the basis of her color of the skin, she said, I am not going to give this up. And as a result of that, um, she read the army law, which means she knew what she was talking. She's also the daughter of a preacher, so she knew the Bible by heart. Because there's an instance, as you saw in the storyline, a padri was sent to spy on them. And while he was giving the sermon, he also started blaming her that she's not leading well. And she took the call and put him back into his place. Right now, so many times um, I see a lot of us get into a situation. There could be a failure, there could be a bias, and that's where and sometimes we only keep put ourselves into that position and we say, I have the most to prove to myself or to XYZ person. Now, this is a very interesting comment. This is the character of Mrs. Roosevelt, who is hearing to, listening to that mother who was waiting outside the White House. Both her sons were in the the war, and for the last 2 years, she's not aware whether they're alive or not. She said, "I know we are nobodies, but still I've come to meet you." And she said, the Mrs. Roosevelt said, "No, no, no. Everybody is somebody." Now, this is such an interesting comment. And that's my submission to all of you people who are in the session as well as people who are watching the recording. Do you treat yourself as somebody? Because the way you treat yourself is the way others will treat you. Right? Everybody is somebody. Everybody is talented in their unique way. Everybody is gifted in their unique manner. But do we take cognizance of those gifts? Right? So everybody, each one of us is somebody. Now, the picture what you see on the top is the real picture. The picture what you see below is from the movie. Now, the trailer also mentions when there is no mail, there is no hope. There is no communication, there is no morale. Now, look at the way she's looking at her job. She's not looking at her job as just to deliver a mail, just to deliver a letter. But she's looking at the ways and means in which I will be able to provide hope and communication between the families and the soldiers. It's up to us. How do we look at our job? The way we look at our job is the way we'll do the job. If you love your job, it's going to affect somebody. Who that somebody is, probably you will never come to know. And that doesn't mean you should stop loving your job. Yeah. So the way you look at your job, she said, I'm here to provide hope and communication. Now, very interestingly, she was waiting for the command to tell her what to do. She knew what the orders would be. She typed it herself and gave it to herself. Look at the kind of courage she exhibited. Look at the kind of self-determination she exhibited. Look at the kind of confirmation she had towards her own talent, her own abilities, and abilities in her platoon, in her battalion. She did it. I'm giving an order to myself. This is what we need to do. This also reminds me of an instance when Jack Welch, at 31, when he was not promoted to be a general manager, and his colleague was, he walked up to the senior management and said, I have everything to be a general manager. Why have you not made me a general manager? And then his senior actually asked him, checked, had some conversation with him, and he was actually made the general manager at the age of 31 in GE, right? So my question, my submission to all the people who are listening and watching this is, what kind of self-confidence, self-determination do we carry on our own abilities? Now, again, I've tried to show you on the left-hand side, you see the real picture of the march. On the right-hand side, you'll see the picture from the movie. Now, as leaders, the Charity Adams displayed the character. Now, very interestingly, when she was sent to Europe, her battalion was sent on a ship, which was a civilian ship without any naval escort, which means they were at the mercy, and I'm glad that the enemy torpedo did not hit them. And the moment they landed at Glasgow, that's where they were posted, they were told to march. There was no transport available for them. They are just supposed to march. She said, "It's okay. I am here to prove to others that yes, we have the capability." And she realized that she set up for failure. Nobody believed that they could do it. They were given 6 months to do this task. And she said 6 months seems very generous, unless she saw that there are 17 million mail which are undelivered. However, she said, okay, I'm going to take this in the stride and I'm going to face it. Now, very interestingly, the first lot, what they delivered, the mail was undelivered. They were figuring out how to do this. Either they will look at the number of the person, as in for each of the soldier, there's a unique number given. Either they tag it around that, or they tag it through pin codes. However, it was not working because soldiers were moving. They were not sure. A lot of people had the same names and the surnames. So there was a lot of confusion. Then they figured out some patterns. Now, each of the divisions of these soldiers who were moving, they have their insignias, their symbols. Soldiers, knowingly, unknowingly, were actually drawing those symbols by hand on the letters. In a way, they were also trying to share their location with their loved ones. And that's how they cracked it. That can we look at all the symbols which are there on the letters? Then they also figured out, for example, when a woman earlier, letter writing used to be an art. A lot of women will spray a perfume on the paper. Then they used to write the letter. Some of the soldiers were proficient in figuring out which perfume is from where it is manufactured. They could trace back that this is the place where the letter is coming from. Some of them were also able to identify if there was any cloth which was there in the letter. So the whole idea was they did not go with the typical problem solving approach. They also started looking at the patterns and what was not said, what was not seen, what was beyond the obvious. And that's where they were able to break through. Okay. So this typically, I would say, is the nutshell of this entire movie. And there are so many lessons one can draw. I've watched it, I think, twice or thrice, and every time I see, I get really emotional when when you see the capability, and the capability is not acknowledged, but still in that face of adversity, how the leader's character is tested without getting emotional. I have seen a lot of people getting emotional, when their capability is questioned. But here was somebody who did not get emotional and continued to lead with an example. Continue to lead with an example, right? There were times when her soldiers got agitated, but she said, "Come what may, you will not do this." White soldiers said they refused to salute them. But when they saw what the soldiers did, and there's a scene in the movie, they are at the train station and there are so many white soldiers, and all of them saluted them. So that was, I think, one of the very critical. It's like the goosebump moment in the movie to me. How she did what others thought is impossible, right? So I'll probably stop here. Uh, that's our point of view. And any thoughts, comments, which anybody wants to add?
I think that's a Perfect example of talking to self in third person when
Yeah,
she wrote a letter to herself.
absolutely, absolutely.
And I'm also reminded of a situation when I was working with Bharti Airtel and I didn't get the promotion for some time. So I approached to my CEO directly, called him up and said, "Sir, I want to talk to you about my possible future with Bharti Airtel." So he was surprised and said, "Okay, let's meet tomorrow."
Mhm.
Otherwise, talking to CEO and getting an appointment from him, from a territory manager was a difficult thing. So I got an
Right.
appointment tomorrow, and I told him, "Sir, I'm working with your organization from these days, and this is what I have done, and these are the numbers which I have delivered." And you might say that the numbers can be a function of your efforts, but how you have done that, that is more important for promotion. So I definitely ask you to give a case study to me and to case study to best of your ASM. And if my thought process is not worth it, then I'm not claim for the position. And to my surprise, within a week or so, there was a process of interview for ASM at Jhansi, and I was being selected there.
Wow, very nice. Thank you. I never knew this story, Mr. Razi. Thank you so much for sharing. And this also reminds me that there are so many times we feel that I am so good or I am this capable, my senior should know me. May not be, because there are times when the senior may be busy in his or her own thing. However, if you do not communicate, you may be deprived of what you think you are capable of, and the without the communication, there could be a divide between what you think you are capable of and what you deserve. Right. So I think that's a very interesting point, to reach out, to communicate to people, ask that this is who I am, and then prove. And I'm sure you will get what you are
And
seeking.
and and when I share this story with my participants in my training assignments, so they say कि सर आप किस्मत वाले थे कि आपको निकाला नहीं गया, हम कर देंगे तो हमको तो अगले दिन निकाल दिया जाएगा. हमने That's your fear. That's not the
Yes,
truth.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's an absolute fear. Nothing else. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing, Mr. Ajay. Anybody, any other thoughts? Just to remind, this entire recording will be made available, so you can always watch it at your own convenience. We will share the recording link as well.
And I can relate to the first statement, but burden to be better. I think it's a good burden.
Yes, it is. But it depends who is taking the burden.
I feel that burden. That burden, as you say, some amount of stress is good.
Yes, absolutely. Now, my point of view here is a little different. If you are under the burden to be better, okay, I'm specifically emphasizing the word the burden.
Hmm.
Burden means you have no other choice but to become better. Okay, and you have to carry that weight on your shoulders. It's like this, that when the coal is under pressure, you get diamond. That's absolutely one way to look at it. Second is, can there be, instead of a burden, can there be another way in which I can become better instead of feeling burdened? Right? Because when I'm under burden, I may also feel stressed. Good stress is important, but there may be possibility I may also burn down. I may also burn out. Right? But so that's, but both the ways are, these are the perspectives. Yes, yes. Burden to be better is always good. And I think somewhere all of us have felt that some point of time or the other
Yes,
in our
yes.
lives so far. Right?
I
And we
think
have,
it's more, sorry,
sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
it's more from the perspective of pleasing everybody.
Yeah, pleasing everybody, possibly. Yes. Yes.
Pleasing everybody is a burden.
It is absolutely, absolutely. And I always get reminded when people say that, is he happy or is she happy with my work? Steve Jobs once said, if you want to please everybody, go and sell ice creams. Yeah.
Even then, you won't be able to please everyone.
Very nice. Yeah. Cool. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll close. It's almost half an hour.
Wonderful session. There are lots of things we can relate with. And yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not going to delay watching this movie. It's going to be done today itself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Afrin, for setting this up. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Uh, As I said, I'm just reiterating, when the recording is posted on the YouTube, feel free to mention your comments, what your point of view on this leadership lessons are. All right. Thank
Right.
you. Namaste. Have an
Thank you.
amazing weekend. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
all. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.